Hello and welcome back to the Old Soul Millennial channel. In today's video I'm going to talk to you about how I wash, polish, and wax my vehicles and keep them looking as good as new. Now I've owned 3 vehicles over the course of my lifetime. This is number 3 and she looks absolutely beautiful, but she needs a good polish and shine. So one of the advantages of you watching this video as opposed to some other videos is I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. None of these companies send me out any products for free. Nobody sent me any money. I don't own any of these companies, so this is going to be a completely unbiased video talking about products that really work. And I have tested many products over the years and I really know what works and what doesn't work. So first thing I'd like to talk about is washing your car. Now, whenever you wash, polish, or wax your car, you always want the car in a cool and shaded area. You don't want to do this in direct sunlight and you don't want the water droplets to dry on the car. Now, I don't know if you've ever looked at the side of a car in direct sunlight and seen a bunch of swirl marks, especially on like darker colored cars. On my old Chevy, I had some really bad swirl marks. Now, what causes those swirl marks? Well, for one, car washes. Car washes are notorious for leaving abrasive swirl marks on your paint. So if you can try and avoid the car wash, I understand it's convenient. You know, best to wash it by hand. But if you are washing it by hand, avoid these brushes, soft bristle or firm bristle brushes. These will also leave swirl marks on the side of your paint, especially if they catch a rock or a bit of debris. While that's on the brush, it's just going to dig into the side of your paint and it's really not great. Yes, those are easier to use, but really the best way to wash your car is with a microfiber sponge or a microfiber brush. So I'd highly recommend using a microfiber product to wash the side of your car. Now, what type of car wash should you use? You know, I've used the cheap stuff, I've used the expensive stuff. What I feel like leaves the best result, the best shine, is a car wash that has a wax additive. So like this Zip Wax, this car wash and wax, this stuff over here, Power Purple wash and wax. So anything with a wax additive seems to leave the best shine. Now, after you finish washing your car, always make sure that you get it nice and dry. And I like to use this absorber right here. This is like the ShamWow. You've seen the ShamWow TV commercials. This is very similar to that product. I've had this for probably close to 8 years now, and it's still working fantastic. Just when you put these away, you're supposed to keep these wet. So for those of you that have decided to click on this video to gain a few insightful tips as to how to wash your car without causing swirl marks, there you go. No need to watch this video any further. But for those select few that are looking to take the finish and shine of your vehicle to the next level, well, let's start going over steps 2 through 5. So I polish my truck no less than once a year, and over the course of that year, little imperfections embed themselves in the paint, and those imperfections could be grease, tar, sap, and something I commonly refer to as rail dust. Rail dust, it's basically little pieces of iron from the brake pads of your vehicle, or if your vehicle was transported to the dealership on a train, those little bits of iron embed themselves in the paint and then they start to oxidize, they start to rust. So looking beneath my 6.7 logo, I see a couple of little rusty spots, those rail dust spots. And those are very difficult, if not impossible, to remove with traditional washing methods. So how do you remove those imperfections from your paint? The answer is simple. That is with a clay bar and detailing spray. Now, I go through a lot of detailing spray, so I end up buying it in gallons. Typically, I buy this McGuires. It smells really nice and it works really well. So let me show you how to remove the imperfections with the clay bar. So now it's time to clay bar the entire truck, and I'm going to start with the worst area first just to kind of show you how it works. But this is that rail dust that I was talking about. See these rust spots? And if I try to rub these off, they're not coming off, and this really bothers me. So what you need to do, tear off a chunk of clay, flatten it out, and grab your detailing spray, lubricate the clay, and lubricate the paint of the vehicle, and then this is just going to take some elbow grease, so go in circles, work the clay back and forth. There you go. As you can see, we removed that really bad rail dust mark here and here. And the last thing you need to do is just take your microfiber cloth and dry the area of the detailing spray. Now repeat the process over the whole vehicle, and that is how you clay bar a vehicle and remove the imperfections. Alright, so I just finished clay barring the surface of the truck, and I gotta tell you, it took a lot of elbow grease. Took an hour and a half, but it was absolutely worth it. When I run my hand over the surface of the paint now, it is silky smooth. When I ran my hand over the paint before, it was kind of rough, and what I was feeling were all those contaminants, the dirt, the tar, the grime, all that, it just gets embedded in the paint. So now that we have all that lifted up, it's just silky smooth. I see no more rust marks, no more tar, no more sap. So we have a nice clean surface to work with, and it's only going to get smoother as we move down along the line here. So steps 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to go over these steps in a moment here, but I want to talk about the different ways of applying these polishes and waxing products. So basically you have 3 options. Option number 1, you can apply these by hand with a microfiber pad like this. It's really helpful if you do decide to apply it by hand that you have one of these plastic handles. Option number 2 is by using a DA polisher or dual action polisher. So this polisher rotates very slowly, I think clockwise generally, but it also oscillates in all different directions. And this is great for the novice or somebody that doesn't have experience with a buffer, because the chances of burning through your paint are much less likely. It's much more difficult to damage your car's paint with a polisher like this versus what's known as the next option, or a rotary polisher, which is just basically like a big 8-inch buffing wheel, and it just spins really fast. And if you're not careful with that, you can burn through the paint. So this is what I'm mostly going to be using, this dual action polisher. It's a variable speed, so you can adjust the speed, but there's also some areas where that polisher is not going to be able to hit. Those areas I'm going to be completing the task by hand. All right, now that we have methods of application out of the way, let's take a look at step number 3 and decide whether it's necessary for you and your application. So if you look at your body panel, especially in a bright light, sunlight, or flashlight, and you see a lot of swirls or scratches, I'd highly recommend that you go ahead and utilize step number 3. Now, step number 3 is a product that I highly recommend. I'm not endorsed by the company, but having used it in the past, I think this is the best for removing swirl marks and deep scratches. So this is a product made by Maguires. This is a professional ultra cut compound, so it's Maguires 105. And it's great for removing scratches, defects, acid rain, and severe swirl marks and holograms. So you would apply this to your paint like you would a coat of wax. So I'd recommend putting it on a dual action polisher, and you just go down along one body panel at a time, maybe up and down, follow the instructions of course, let it dry, and then buff it off. And then determine if you have to use another application of this product. But it basically works by cutting into the clear coat a little bit. I know that's going to intimidate a lot of people, but in order to remove those swirl marks and scratches, it's pretty much necessary. So with that being said, if you have had to use step number 3, then you definitely need to utilize step number 4. Now, step number 4 is Maguires 205, and it's basically a less aggressive version of the 105, but this is also more of a polish. So this Maguires 205 permanently removes swirls and light defects from all paint. So any imperfections, any small scratches that the 105 was unable to remove, that's where the 205 will really excel at removing those small scratches and imperfections. Additionally, if you don't have those deep swirl marks and you have maybe a few lighter surface scratches, you definitely can move right to step 4 and utilize this Maguires 205. Again, 105 and 205 are fantastic products, and I highly recommend them. Now, moving on to step 5, I'm going to move right from step 1 and 2 to step 5 because I don't have any scratches that are worth me going through steps 3 and 4. But step 5 is applying a paste wax. Now, you can use whatever product you like. A lot of people swear by the ceramic coatings. I've tried the ceramic spray-on coating. I'm not a huge fan by it. I'm not sold by it. I really don't think it works too well. I think it's too gimmicky. Additionally, I've tried the liquid waxes. Not a huge fan. I tried this crap last year. This is the new finish, and I think this stuff is absolute garbage. The reason I say that, 2 years ago I applied a paste wax to the surface of the truck. And then 1 year ago, I applied the new finish. I figured, I'll give this stuff a try. The reviews online seem pretty well. But let me tell you, I had twice as many rail dust rust specks in my paint this year as I did 2 years ago. So I think the best way to seal your paint and protect it is with a traditional paste wax. And again, I'm a big believer in the Maguires, so that's what I recommend. So let's go ahead and start applying this wax to the truck with the dual action polisher. But again, you would utilize this same process for steps 3 and 4 if you feel it's necessary to do so. Now I'm going to use this dual action polisher to apply the wax to the truck. And I mean, there's a million ways to skin a cat here, but I'm going to take this microfiber wax pad, and I'm just going to load it up heavy, and then I'll apply it, or transfer it rather, to the microfiber pad on the dual action polisher. Now we're ready to start applying this paste wax. So Again, I'm going to take this microfiber and I'll just start on the edges a little bit. I like to do one panel at a time. Try to avoid hitting the black trim surfaces, because if you do, it'll probably leave a white residue on there. Now we can get this polisher in here. I like to run it down along the length a little bit, turn it on. Then just repeat the process. Alright, so after you apply wax to a few body panels, what you're going to want to do is let the wax set up, let it dry, and then before you buff it off, you need to ensure that the wax is dry. And you can test to see if it's dry by taking a finger and just sliding it over an area of the car that you already waxed. And if it smears, that generally means that it needs to set up a little bit longer. But I just ran my finger over this. It was peeling off just fine, so now we can take a clean microfiber cloth. We can start buffing this wax off. And take a look at that shine. That is something. That is what we're shooting for right there. So what I'm going to do now, finish waxing and buffing the truck, and then when I'm all finished, I'll whip the camera out and I'll show you the finished product. And that concludes today's video on how to wash, polish, and wax or shine your car or Super Duty. Thanks for watching. As always, I will catch you on the next one.